The Baltimore Ravens are one of the smartest organizations in the NFL. They seem to consistently find value down the draft board each and every year, despite picking in the late 20s in just about every draft class. This year is no different, and the Ravens are tied with the 49ers for the most picks with 11 in this draft. In a draft class where they can really fill some of their needs, who are some players that the Ravens should be targeting, and what moves can they look to make in this 7-round Baltimore Ravens mock draft? I'm really excited about this one because this is a really good roster, and a roster that I think has a legitimate chance of contending for a Super Bowl as early as this season. I think there's some really good value pieces for this team. Leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and check out my Patreon page, which I will leave linked in the description below. It's $5 a month, and you guys will get exclusive access to my in-depth draft guide and big board with over 450 prospects, scouting reports, combine and pro day numbers, player comparisons, and so much more. It truly is one of the best resources on the market, and if you enjoy my NFL draft content, I recommend checking it out. Leave a like, and let's go ahead and kick this off with the Baltimore Ravens. So at pick 27, I'm going to do a slight trade down with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we are going to trade them pick 27 in exchange for pick 32, but we're also getting pick 96 in this deal while giving them 176. To me, I look at it as we're turning a day 3 pick into a day 2 pick and just moving back 5 spots. There's some good value on the board. I think players that would really help this team, but I'd like to trade back, make sure that we get all of our cards in place, add some extra draft capital. I think this is a fair move on both parts. So I'm going to move back with the Eagles just a little bit. So here at pick 32, I think this team is going to need to add some juice off the edge. Odafe always got 1 year left on his deal. Same thing with David Ojabo. And Kyle Van Noy, while he had a great season each of the last 2 years, I think you could look to upgrade that spot long term. Ezaraku's on the board. He will not be here in real life. We've taken him in previous drafts, so I'm not going to select him here. I'm going to go with Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. He was a player that I was looking at pick 27, but he's still on the board here at 32, and I think he is worthy of a first-round selection. This is a guy that people are going to look at his numbers this past year for Texas A&M and kind of scoff at the pick, but Scorton is a lot better than what I think the production is going to lead you to believe, and just go back and look at his sophomore season at Purdue, where he was one of the best edge rushers in the country. Furthermore, on that point, he still had a near 17% pass rush win rate, 4 sacks, 36 pressures on the season, and he's a really fun player that slimmed down at the combine. He's down to 257 pounds, which is closer to where he played at Purdue, and he's just a really good athlete. He moves well. He's got really solid bend for the position, good burst and quickness off the line of scrimmage that can win with power. He can win with a really nice spin move, and I think he even showed the ability to drop back into coverage. I do think he needs to work on some more of his counter moves, and he can be overly aggressive at times, which leads to some balance issues. But Nick Scorton is one of the best edge rushers in this draft class. I don't think anyone should be denying that. I have a first-round grade on him. He's explosive, he's athletic, and I think he's a perfect fit for what the Ravens want to do defensively. I think he gives you a higher floor, but his ceiling is even higher than his floor right now. And at pick 32, I think it's phenomenal value. So I'm going to take Nick Scorton with our first pick here at 32. At pick 59 here, the board really fell favorably for us. I was not expecting this player to be available, but Darian Porter is on the board here at 59, and I am not hesitating to make this pick. He was phenomenal this past year for Iowa State and is one of the freakiest athletes in the entire draft class. He's 6'2", 197 pounds, but he had a 4.3 40 with a 1.49 split, 36.5-inch vert, 10.11 broad jump, but a 4.04 on the 20-yard shuttle. This guy just moves differently than a lot of cornerbacks do. He's super quick, super explosive, athletic, and he's got the long speed to make up for it. I know this team has some interesting corners available. You've got TJ Tampa in the wings. Nate Wiggins looked pretty solid last year. But I think you can upgrade this spot. I really do. And I think Darian Porter is one of the most slept on players in the draft class. We mentioned the explosiveness, but he was only targeted 17 times this season and allowed a reception percentage of under 30%. Only 70 yards allowed in coverage, had 3 interceptions this past year. And given his athletic upside, he's a guy that I think can wait in the wings for a year or two and develop into a really good starting corner down the road. So I'm going to improve this secondary, get younger at the position. Marlon Humphrey had a good year, but he is getting up there in age. They need some help in the cornerback room, and I think Darian Porter is well worth the selection. If he's on the board here at 59, I wouldn't hesitate to make this pick, so I'm going to take him here for the Ravens at 59. All right, we are going to be making a trade up here because one of the players that I had my eye on was Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. He had a phenomenal pro day. I think he fits this Ravens defense really well. He went off the board, which makes me think that safeties could start to come off the board afterwards. And after losing some of the pieces they've had, Marcus Williams is still in free agency. You're going to need to move up. So I'm going to make this deal with New England. We're going to give them 91, 136, 210 in a future day 3 draft pick to move up 14 spots to get 77. We're also getting 238 back in this deal. But we are going to move up for a player, and that player is going to be Andrew Makuba, the safety out of Texas. One of the best safeties in the entire draft class, and I think that this is one of the best safeties I've seen in the last few years. The ball skills are phenomenal, and he's one of the smartest coverage players I have looked at in my few years of watching this. He's so smart, so instinctive in coverage, and he's an upgrade over our Darius Washington. This team is going to need to upgrade in the safety room. He's 5'11", 184 pounds, ran a 4.45, can play in the slot, can play single high as that roaming free safety. He's so fluid and just so smart in coverage, great speed in the open field. What you worry about with him is going to be his run defense and his tackling. 13 missed tackles, nearly a 15% missed tackle percentage, but he reminds me a lot of a Julian Love type. He is going to be a ball hawk on the back end. He's going to be able to jump passing lanes and make big time plays. I think he's a really good fit for this team. So I'm going to go another defensive player here, but I'm going to take Andrew Makuba at pick 77. Here at pick 96, I'm going to go offensive lineman here. And I really like Charles Grant out of William & Mary. Daniel Faalele has 1 year left on his deal. Same thing with Ben Cleveland. You've got Andrew Voorhees slotted to start at left guard. I think this team could look to upgrade on the offensive line. And Charles Grant, to me, is a really good option and one of the most interesting players in the entire draft class. A guy who is an absolute freak athlete, 6'5", 311 pounds, freakish wingspan, 34 3/4 inch arms. He is strong in pass protection with a strong anchor, really good footwork, and just great overall mobility and athleticism. As a run blocker in space, he knows how to move people. He can climb to the second level so well. He is a little bit undersized to play tackle, which is where he played for William & Mary. But if you kick him inside at guard, I think he could turn into one of the best guards in the NFL. And this is a team that loves to draft a need before it's a need. Charles Grant in that Virginia area, so they should have scouts on the ground that have been able to see him. And he's just a perfect fit for the way that this team wants to move the ball, run the football. Reminds me a lot of a Teron Armstead. He can play tackle for you, but I think he really is going to be an all-pro. Maybe I won't go that far, but I think at his peak, he could be a Pro Bowl level guard, and I think you can upgrade that Faalele spot. So here at pick 96, the pick we got from Philadelphia, I'm going to go with an offensive lineman, and I think Charles Grant is a really good fit for this team at pick 96. All right, so we're on the clock at 129, and I really didn't like the way the board fell for us. Seattle's willing to move up, so we're going to give them pick 129, pick 212. We're not giving them a 6, but to get it to go through on the simulator, we're going to give them a 6. And they're going to give us pick 137 and pick 175. So we're moving up from 212 to 175, and we're moving back just 8 spots. Just want to see the board fall a little bit differently. Just didn't love the value of some of the guys there, so we're going to make this move with Seattle. Here at pick 137, I'm going to go linebacker. This is a really tough pick to make. I think you could go D-line, receiver, running back, but I landed on linebacker here just because I think this is where the best value lies. And Smile Mondon's on the board. I think he kind of he's a good option if Trenton Simpson doesn't end up working out. Great athlete and a really good downhill player that had a pretty good combine. 4.58 with a 1.52 split, 10.10 on the broad jump. Coming off a season where he was really reliable for the Georgia Bulldogs. Only a 5.2% missed tackle rate, had 15 pressures, 4 sacks as a downhill player. He's a really good athlete, long arms, great speed to get into the backfield, can be used as a blitzer. I think he is a really good weak side linebacker, which is where they have Trenton Simpson right now. He has some good coverage upside, does look like a defensive back at times. He's only 229 right now. Missed tackles got better this past season. I think he's a fun player, though, and a guy that, look, Trent Simpson didn't have the most amazing season in the world. I think Mondon gives you an insurance plan if it doesn't work out, and their linebacker depth isn't great. This is a team that's got a lot of really good players. I think Mondon is a really solid move. So I'm going to take him here at pick 137 and see the way the board falls with some of the other positions later on. At pick 175, I think the Ravens are going to need to look for another boundary receiver. And Caden Prather, to me, is one of my favorite sleepers in the entire draft class. He's going to be my pick here at 175, a player that I've loved since I watched him last year, and I feel like he's just not getting the respect that he deserves. Ran a 4.46, which is a better time than I would have expected. He is a really fun player. 6'3", 209 pounds, a guy that had a 35% contested catch percentage this year, which isn't amazing, but he has long arms, good physicality, and great play strength. Good footwork, knows how to separate, good press release as well, good blocker on the boundary. I love everything about his game. I would like to see him be a little bit more physical, win those 50-50 balls a little bit more consistently. But look, you bring in DeAndre Hopkins. He's washed at this point. You've got Rashad Bateman, who's coming off a good year. But I do think that this is a team that is going to need to address more assets into the receiver room. And I think Caden Prather, local to the area and is a really good football player that's just not getting enough respect. He's going to be my pick here at 175. I love his game, and I think he's a perfect fit for what the Ravens need in a boundary receiver. At pick 183, I think this is a great spot to go get a nose tackle. Travis Jones has 1 year left on his contract, and they're going to need a guy that can do some of those same things, just stuff the run lanes. And I think Cam Jackson's the right man to do this. A really good defensive tackle prospect that's starting to get a little bit more love down the board. He's 6'6", 328 pounds, and he's built like an absolute tank. He is absolutely massive on the interior. He's just a space eater in the run game. Really strong upper body, good length for the position as well. And he ran a 5.17, which is a better time than you would expect for someone this big. He's not a great pass rusher really at all. He's not the most fluid athlete, but that's not what this team needs him to do. This team is going to ask him to consistently clog up the rushing lanes, and I think he's going to be able to do that. I think he's a really fun player for this defense. He fits really well next to Madubuike. And with Travis Jones being left only 1 year on his deal, I think Cam Jackson's a really solid replacement in the 6th round, so he'll be my pick at 183. At pick 203, the Ravens are going to have a kicker problem really soon. Justin Tucker, he has some weird issues off the field and not good. So they're going to need to address the kicking department. Had a down year. I think Ryan Fitzgerald is going to be the pick from Florida State. He was one of the most accurate kickers, has a big leg, made multiple kicks from 50 yards. Look, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I've watched a bunch of tape on the kickers. But the Ravens do have a hole there at the kicker position, and they're going to need to address it. So I think Ryan Fitzgerald is going to be the right move for them. In the 6th round, this is around the spot where I would consider drafting a kicker. And at 203, I think it's good value for one of the best kickers in the country this past season. So I'm going to take Ryan Fitzgerald to be the replacement for whatever's going on with Justin Tucker. Here at pick 238, the Ravens love to draft running backs, and I think Kyle Monangai is a really good option. One of the best pass-protecting running backs in the entire draft class. Yes, he ran a 4.6, but this is a guy that just fits the Ravens mentality. A hard-nosed runner that fights for extra yards, is an absolute beast as a blocker, and I think he does a lot of the same things Derrick Henry does in terms of the power that he runs with, and he wants to run through you. That's the type of guy you're getting in Kyle Monangai. No, he's not the fastest. He's not the biggest. but he does so many things right from a running perspective that make me really excited about what he could potentially be at the next level. I really, really like his game. I don't know how highly he's going to be valued amongst NFL's teams, but here in the 7th round, absolutely is a guy that I would take a chance on. So he's going to be my pick here at 238. With my final pick here, this is going to be one that not a lot of people are going to like because of how low he is on the consensus board. But I'm going to go with Brian Ugwu, the edge rusher out of Miami, Ohio. He's ranked at 627 here. This is a guy that I would consider taking down the line. He's a really fun edge rusher with good athleticism. He's a good run stopper as well. I thought he had a really solid, productive last couple of seasons as a run defender. He's a guy that had 66 pressures this past season, which you do worry about with them. Shorter arms, just 77 inches. He does need to improve on finishing the play. A lot of missed tackles. Missed tackle percentages way too high in terms of missed sacks. I think he does get a little stiff at times, but he's a fun dart throw in the 7th round because I think he is a solid run defender. He's got the ideal 6'3", 250 frame. I think he can play in multiple alignments, and he's worth a chance here at pick 243. So he is going to be my final pick for the Ravens in this draft. So there we have it, Ravens fans. My 7-round mock draft really improved the defense here, getting some nice edge help, improving the interior, getting a linebacker, some corners. I think you can improve a little bit in the skill position department, Monangai, Prather, and then just getting an offensive lineman that can play inside and out. I love this draft for you guys, and I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Leave a comment, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.